Pension planning. This is something that is extremely important. I know we have a lot of viewers on our YouTube channel that like to learn more about pension planning. This is something that's not talked about often because less than 20% of people even have a pension. There's a lot of financial planners that don't even specialize in this area. And so we want to make sure we can give you the right advice here. And so if you are planning for that retirement and you're still working, this is for you because you're going to have to make a couple decisions when it comes to your pension. You're going to need to decide if you want to take the lump sum or not, if you have that option. Many people do. And you're also going to need to elect to see if you want to take the survivor option or not. And remember, you have to pay for that survivor option. If you want your spouse to continue your pension if you pass away, that's going to cost you something typically. And so we're going to talk through the pros and cons of that. And we're also going to talk through the pros and cons if you should take the lump sum or not, and try to give you a better idea as you plan for this future retirement that you've worked so hard for. But one thing before we get started is understand the opportunity you have with a pension. Like I said, not many people have it, and it's a huge advantage as you plan your retirement. And so the key for you is take advantage of it. Make the right decisions now so you can live this retirement you've been dreaming of all these years.
Joe knows taxes.
Joe knows the market.
Joe knows Social Security.
Joe knows income planning.
Joe knows pickleball? No.
This is Joe Knows Retirement.
If you follow these videos, or maybe you follow us on Kiplinger, we post about 1 to 2 articles typically a month to Kiplinger, and you'll see a few of those articles have to do on pension planning. And I actually wrote 2 articles not too long ago on these topics, and one of them was what should you do with a lump sum, and the other one was what should you do based on the survivor option. And so those could be other 2 good resources to view further if you're looking for more information. But today we're going to talk through those more in depth. So let's start off with this lump sum conversation. So the pros and cons of taking a lump sum pension. The pros are, well, maybe we can take that lump sum and invest it in something better than what that pension could currently get us. So let's just use some raw numbers here. This is not real numbers. I'm just giving you an idea of how this works. Let's say that your pension would pay you out $1,000 more a month if you do not take the lump sum. If you take the lump sum, let's say that they'll give you $300,000 for $1,000 less in that monthly pension. The question becomes can we take this $300,000 and can we produce a better income than $1,000 a month? And that's going to be the calculation that you have to look at. And there's many different types of vehicles that you can utilize to get that guaranteed income stream that you're looking for. You could look to utilize insurance companies or income type annuities. There's all these different opportunities, but the key is to understand what your goals are and what you're trying to achieve. So that could be an advantage, as you could get a higher income potentially, especially with the higher interest rates we're seeing in this environment. You can get these protected type vehicles at a pretty good rate because the interest rate environment. And so maybe that's an opportunity for you to take advantage of. But the other opportunity of why it makes sense to take the lump sum pension is, what if something happens to your spouse, right? Let's say that your pension for some odd reason doesn't have a survivor benefit, or maybe you elected out of it, which we're going to talk about later in the video. And well, if you pass away, they're going to be left with nothing if you don't take the lump sum. Well, if we take that lump sum, we now have $300,000 that can go to our spouse, or maybe not our spouse, but maybe our children, right? It's still living. It's still being able to pass on to someone is ultimately the idea. And so that could be a consideration if you want to leave a legacy, and maybe you already have enough money through your pension and maybe a Social Security. Maybe we don't have to, need the maximum amount that they're offering. Maybe we can do the lump sum so we can have more of that flexibility. So another reason why you should potentially take the lump sum is because of tax planning. So if you just leave all your money in that pension, you're going to have a guaranteed amount spit out to you every single month moving forward, which is incredible. It's a good opportunity. But from a tax planning perspective, you're always going to push your income higher, and you're not going to have the flexibility of deciding how much you want to take out. If your pension's paying out $5,000 a month, then you only you know that you're going to be taking $5,000 out a month. You can't say, well, I only want $2,000 this month, or I only want $20,000 this year because tax rates are going to be significantly higher. Well, you don't have that flexibility. Whereas if you have the lump sum, you could have it in an IRA to where you could defer it moving forward, and you could decide when to take that money and move it to a Roth or take it out and pay taxes. It could be a more strategic opportunities for you. And again, that shouldn't be the sole decision if you make this decision or not, but it is certainly something to consider And then the other pro of taking the lump sum is now we can use this money for whatever we want. Maybe we need this money for pay off debt. Maybe we want to use it to buy a second home. Maybe we want to use it towards education for kids or grandkids, right? These are the opportunities that this can present at that time that we can take advantage of. So those are all the sunshines. There's also many other ideas and strategies of why that lump sum can make sense. But let's talk about the negatives, right? Because this may not make sense for you. There's definitely clients we work with that do not take the lump sum. I can tell you though that most people we're seeing right now, they are taking the lump sum because of how attractive it's becoming. Because the other consideration here is, do these pension plans really want to continue to have this liability on their balance sheets moving forward? Or would they rather just get it off and not have to worry about it? Well, that's what a lot of companies done. And so you also have to look at with your pension is, what's the, how's it going to work? Is it going to be there ongoing? Most pensions are good to go. But we've seen people, Teamsters pension, if you want to research that one, that we actually had a client who had Teamsters, that was with Teamsters, that saw a reduction in their pension overnight. And so because of that, was it really guaranteed for them moving forward versus the lump sum? Now that's in their pocket and they can do and plan as they wish versus hoping for the best with these pension plans. So not trying to scare anyone there. Many of these pension plans are well funded and there's nothing to worry about. But just to make sure you do your due diligence there. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you're asking the right questions because that could play a part in if you take the lump sum or not. It shouldn't be the only reason, but maybe if that pension fund is failing, then maybe that's a reason to do something differently there. But obviously the negative here is, what if that pension plan is extremely attractive? What if they are offering a really high income amount and maybe that lump sum option isn't going to meet that income need you need? In that case, we're probably going to tell you to take the pension payout, right? Many pensions are great. This is just an option that you could look at to explore further to see if it makes sense. And so if that pension's really good and you can't find anything else better on the marketplace, then probably shouldn't do it. But the key is to look, do the analysis, do the research, and just know you've laid out your options so you don't miss anything, is what we always want people to understand. And so I know it seems like there's a lot more reasons to take the lump sum than there isn't. And that could be true from a flexibility standpoint. But again, it comes down to purely of, can you get more money by doing something else, or is your pension really that good, is what it comes down to. So just showing you the pros and cons there, but for you, it's going to be a specific decision. Just make sure you do your research. So then let's transition into talking about, this survivor option, because you have the chance of potentially giving 100% survivor option to your spouse, or maybe you give them 50%, they get half of what your pension's paying out, or maybe you give them nothing. And the key to understand is that you have to pay for the survivor benefit. And so you're going to have to do a cost analysis here to see how this works. And, a lot of our clients, at this point, they're typically 55 to 65 when they elect this option. They may have to take that option because that's the only thing they can do to make sure their spouse is protected. But if you find yourself in a unique opportunity, maybe you don't have to take that option. Many of the people we work with have done a great job of saving. They may not have to take that option to make sure their spouse is good to go. For example, let's say that this pension goes away for them. Let's say they elected 0% survivor option. If they did that, well, through their investments, through Social Security, they may still be good to go and not have to worry about that. Now, let me preface this first, though, that do not take that 0% option unless you are for sure that your spouse is going to be doing good. I mean, that's just my recommendation. I hope you are on the same wavelength as me there. But you don't want to try to be cheap here and miss something because your spouse truly needed it and you just said, I want to save the money now. But if you pass away tomorrow, that could be the worst decision that you obviously make. And obviously, we don't know the future. If you live 20 years and your spouse only lives 5 more years, well, you made the right decision by not taking it, right? So we just don't know. But we always have to plan for worst case when we plan retirement planning, when we plan for our spouse and the survivorship moving forward, because anything can happen at any day. But what I can tell you is the key is to get your spouse covered. So what are some other ways that we could cover them without taking this option? Because again, if you take the 100%, it could be very costly. You could pay thousands of dollars or reduce your pension by $1,000 each month just to elect that. And so what if we took that $1,000, for example, and we did something else with it? For example, maybe you're still insurable, which again, maybe you're not, because at this age, health is going to be an indication of if you're insurable or not. And life insurance gets harder to get the older you get. And so you just have to do an analysis if that's something you want to explore. But maybe you could get a life insurance policy to pay out what your spouse needs. And then that's going to cover you, for example, if your spouse predeceases you, there's still going to be some value there that you could leave that life insurance to maybe your kids or, you know, your other loved ones, or, you know, maybe you could take a cash value out of the policy if it's a permanent life insurance policy, or maybe you just need a term policy, which is inexpensive, but you can get a lot of coverage for just that period of time that you're going to really need that money for your spouse, because maybe you get a 20-year term policy, and maybe by the time 20 years comes up, there's probably not going to be that big of a need. Is something to consider. And so you're going to need to do an analysis to see if that's the route you want to go. Are you insured? But also, what type of insurance do you need? But thirdly, how much coverage do you need? And fourthly, if you want to go there, you got to make sure it's within your budget, right? But typically, if you're saving $500 or $1,000 by not doing the survivor benefit, you could probably get the same amount of coverage through life insurance or more. Could be a consideration for you that we've seen other people do, and it gives them just more flexibility, like I talked about. But the key is, again, back to like this lump sum, is you got to make sure if you do this, the life insurance can provide the same payout as a pension, or better is ultimately the idea for the cost. And so you want to be very careful and work with a professional when making these types of decisions. And another benefit of that life insurance strategy is, that dual-edged sword that I've talked about, but also you can use that life insurance for long-term care potentially if it's set up the right way. So depending on how you set up that life insurance, you may be able to accelerate that death benefit if you have a long-term care event. So maybe you need a nursing home and maybe you have to come up with some money. Well, this could be an opportunity to provide a double-edged sword so you can use it for several different planning concerns that you may have eventually. So again, just looking at all your options out there and exploring what's going to make sense for you. So I hope this video is helpful for you. I mean, obviously there's a lot of considerations to plan for as you plan for retirement, but a pension just adds a lot of complexity. I mean, we haven't even talked about all of the additional tax planning considerations of a pension, of how this could force you to higher brackets forever and force maybe your Medicare to cost more, to force more of your Social Security to be taxable, by forcing you to have to, when you take out those required minimum distributions from your investment accounts at age 73 or 75, now you're pumping yourself up tax brackets because of this guaranteed amount you've always had. And we talked about that earlier in the video, but it is extreme. And so, for you, it's going to be important that you're getting more specific tax planning advice, especially if you found yourself being that diligent saver, you have that pension, you're in a unique situation. I mean, if you have a pension, I've done another video on this, you have a lot of money there if you live a long time. And so we need to make sure that you understand that even though your investments may only be $1 million, well, add that pension to it. A pension could be worth $1 million, $2 million or more, depending on how much you have there. And that's going to be very specific to your type of planning that you're going to need moving forward. You are considered wealthy in that instance, and your type of planning is going to be more advanced. And so if you are looking for more of this type of planning and you feel like you need more pension type planning, maybe your advisor doesn't necessarily specialize in this, or maybe you're doing it on your own currently and you just don't want to continue to have to make these decisions, feel free to reach out to us. There's a link in our description below where you can actually schedule a time to explore what it looks like to work with us and see if we can add value to your situation. And so that will be a 15-minute call, an opportunity for you to fill out a questionnaire to see if we can help you, and if so, we can have that conversation to explore further. And if we can't help you, we can at least make sure we're guiding you right direction and make sure you continue to watch these videos here and get this type of plenty of help moving forward. But just want to give that an opportunity out there. We know we get a lot of avid viewers here, and we schedule a lot of people from these YouTube channel, from these videos, and we're always glad to put a face to the name of all the people who like our videos and subscribe to our channel. So if you're looking for further help, feel free to reach out, and we'll keep the videos coming here.